The clock struck midnight on wrestling's most controversial moment of the year, and nobody saw it coming. Jade Cargill, the woman who's been systematically dismantled, humiliated, and written off by the WWE creative team for months, just did the impossible. She didn't just win a championship. She obliterated every single doubt, silenced every single critic, and proved that sometimes the most unlikely stories write the most unforgettable endings. But here's what's going to make your blood boil: the way she won it, the person she beat, and the absolute chaos that erupted after the final bell rang has the entire wrestling world divided right down the middle. Some are calling it the greatest redemption arc in modern wrestling. Others are screaming that it's the biggest robbery since Montreal. And I'm about to break down every single frame of this insanity, because what you think you saw on your screen barely scratches the surface of what actually went down. Listen, before we dive into this absolute madness, I need you to understand something. We're a family here at Ring Rumble, and families stick together through the biggest moments in wrestling. If you've been riding with us through every twist, every turn, every controversial call, then hitting that subscribe button isn't just supporting the channel. It's making sure you never miss a moment when wrestling history gets rewritten. We're building something special here, and your support means everything. Now let's get into why the wrestling world is absolutely losing its mind right now. 3 months ago, Jade Cargill couldn't buy a clean victory if her career depended on it. Remember that? The former AEW star who walked into WWE with more hype than a returning legend, with muscles that looked like they were carved by Greek gods, with a presence that demanded your attention whether you liked it or not. She was supposed to be unstoppable. She was supposed to be the future. Instead, creative buried her deeper than forgotten storylines from the ruthless aggression era. Loss after loss, interference after interference, distraction roll UPS that made her look like a rookie who just stepped off the Performance Center training mats for the first time. The woman who went nearly 2 years undefeated in AEW was getting pinned by competitors half her size with half her credibility. Social media was ruthless. The comments were vicious. Even her most loyal fans started questioning if she belonged in a WWE ring at all. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is where you need to pay attention, because this detail changes everything. 2 weeks before the championship match, something shifted. Jade stopped doing interviews. She stopped posting on social media. She went completely dark. Radio silence from a woman who built her entire brand on confidence and visibility. People speculated she was injured. Rumors swirled she was getting released. Dirt sheets reported creative had absolutely nothing for her moving forward. Her name wasn't even in the betting odds for potential championship contention. She was, for all intents and purposes, forgotten. Exactly where they wanted her. The champion, and I'm going to let you sit with this for a second, was riding a 217-day reign of absolute dominance. Undefeated since WrestleMania. Cleared out every single credible challenger in the division. Retained the title in every stipulation match you could imagine: last woman standing, submission, steel cage, you name it. This wasn't just a champion. This was a final boss that creative protected harder than Roman Reigns during his tribal chief run. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, was getting close to that title. The booking was so one-sided that fans stopped caring about the championship matches because we all knew how they'd end. The champion standing tall, challenger looking up at the lights, rinse and repeat until everyone tuned out. Then came the announcement. Jade Cargill versus the champion. #1 contenders match on a random episode of television. Not even a pay-per-view. Not even a premium live event. Just a throwaway match on a nothing episode that most people were planning to skip. The wrestling community collectively rolled their eyes. This was going to be another squash match. Another opportunity for creative to remind everyone that Jade wasn't on that level. Vegas wouldn't even set odds on it. Online polls showed 87% of fans predicting a champion victory in under 5 minutes. Jade was walking into a massacre, and everyone knew it except apparently Jade herself. The match started exactly how you'd expect. The champion controlled every single exchange. Power moves that would hospitalize normal competitors barely fazed her. Submission holds that made legends tap out were broken with ease. Jade tried everything in her arsenal. The jaded, the pump kick, high-impact maneuvers that should have at least created some doubt. Nothing. 5 minutes in, Jade was bleeding from her mouth. 8 minutes in, she could barely stand. 12 minutes in, commentary was already shifting into putting over the champion mode, talking about legacy and greatness and inevitable victory. This was turning into exactly what everyone predicted: a public execution designed to cement the champion's dominance and permanently establish Jade as a mid-card afterthought. But at minute 14, something happened that still has frame-by-frame analysts going back to rewatch. The champion went for her signature finishing sequence, the same combination that ended every single title defense for 7 months straight. She lifted Jade for the final move, the one that's never been kicked out of, the one that ended careers and crushed dreams. And Jade, somehow, someway, slipped out. Not a clean reversal. Not a burst of superhuman strength. She just barely, desperately, slipped out by microseconds. The champion turned around, confused, frustrated, and that's when Jade's eyes changed. You could see it even through the exhaustion and the blood and the pain. Something awakened. What happened next unfolded so fast that most people missed it on first viewing. Jade hit a desperation knee strike that caught the champion flush on the jaw. The champion staggered, stunned for the first time in the entire reign. Jade followed with a running boot that sent the champion into the corner. Then another. Then another. The crowd, which had been sitting on their hands waiting for the inevitable conclusion, started making noise. Not cheering exactly, but that low rumble that happens when fans sense something might be different this time. Jade backed up, measuring, calculating. She charged with everything left in her tank and delivered the Jaded from out of absolutely nowhere. The impact echoed through the arena. The champion crumpled like a demolished building. Jade collapsed on top for the cover. 1, 2. The entire wrestling world held its breath. 3. The arena exploded into complete pandemonium. Fans who spent months criticizing Jade were on their feet screaming. Commentary lost their minds trying to process what just happened. The new champion lay in the ring, unable to move, unable to celebrate, just staring at the lights with tears streaming down her face. But here's where things went from shocking to absolute chaos. The celebration lasted maybe 20 seconds before officials and referees started swarming the ring. The original champion was arguing with the senior referee, pointing at something near the ropes. Replays started rolling, and that's when social media absolutely detonated. During Jade's final comeback sequence, for just a fraction of a second, you can see her hand graze the ropes during one of the champion's submission attempts. The champion claims she tapped to escape the pain before Jade grabbed the ropes, making it an illegal break. Jade's team argues the rope break happened simultaneously with the escape, making it legal. The referees reviewed it for nearly 8 minutes while both competitors and the entire crowd waited in suspended animation. After what felt like an eternity of deliberation, the senior official made the call. The match result stands. Jade Cargill is the new champion. The roof nearly came off the building. But the controversy didn't end there, and this is where you need to understand the full scope of what's happening. Within hours, the former champion posted a video demanding a rematch, claiming she never truly lost her title. Wrestling journalists immediately divided into camps, those supporting the referee's decision and those calling it the worst officiating mistake since that phantom tap at Survivor Series. Online polls showed a perfect 50-50 split. Message boards became war zones. Fan communities fractured. Even wrestlers from other promotions started weighing in, with some congratulating Jade and others questioning the legitimacy of her victory. The situation escalated so dramatically that WWE had to release an official statement addressing the controversy, something they rarely do for anything short of legitimate emergencies. Here's what makes this entire situation so incredibly compelling and frustrating at the same time. If WWE had booked Jade strongly from the beginning, if they'd given her momentum and credibility, this victory would be celebrated universally. Instead, they created a situation where her biggest win, her championship coronation, her redemption moment, is permanently tainted by doubt. Some fans can't celebrate because they spent months watching her lose and suddenly she's champion. Others can't celebrate because of the controversial finish. And still others can't celebrate because they genuinely believe the wrong person won. WWE somehow managed to create both a feel-good underdog story and a divisive controversy simultaneously, which is either creative genius or creative catastrophe depending on who you ask. The social media reaction tells the complete story of wrestling fandom in the modern era. Jade's supporters are creating highlight packages showing her entire journey, from AEW dominance to WWE struggles to championship glory, framing it as the ultimate perseverance narrative. Her critics are creating those same highlight packages but editing them to emphasize every botch, every awkward moment, every questionable booking decision, arguing she's not ready for this level. Both groups are using identical footage to support completely opposite conclusions. Wrestling fans are watching the same matches and seeing entirely different stories, which honestly might be the most wrestling thing that's ever happened. The former champion, to her credit, handled the loss with surprising grace during her backstage interview, even while maintaining that the decision was incorrect. She congratulated Jade on the victory while making it absolutely clear this story isn't over. She wants her rematch. She wants vindication. She wants to prove that tonight was a fluke, an asterisk, a mistake that will be corrected. The intensity in her eyes during that interview promised violence. This isn't going to be settled with one match. This is going to be a blood feud that defines both careers for years to come. And honestly, that might be exactly what both women need. Jade needs to prove tonight wasn't luck. The former champion needs to prove she's still the dominant force everyone believed she was. This is far from over. Now let's talk about what happens next, because this is where things get really interesting from a booking perspective. WWE has several paths forward, and each one comes with massive implications. They could run back the match immediately at the next premium live event with a special guest referee to avoid controversy, giving us a definitive winner. They could add stipulations, making it a submission match or an Iron Woman match that eliminates any possibility of disputed finishes. They could introduce a third competitor, someone who's been waiting for their opportunity, turning this into a triple threat that creates even more chaos. Or, and this is the most intriguing option, they could have Jade go on a dominant title defense run, systematically destroying everyone put in front of her until she faces the former champion again months down the line when the stakes are even higher and the emotions are even more raw. The wrestling community is already fantasy booking every possible scenario, and honestly, that's when you know something hit differently. When fans care enough to argue passionately about what should happen next, creative has accomplished something significant whether they meant to or not. Jade Cargill holding championship gold in WWE is a massive statement regardless of how we got here. A woman who was counted out, written off, and buried for months just proved that perseverance in one moment of opportunity can change everything. That's a powerful story even through all the controversy. What this ultimately represents is wrestling's beautiful chaos on full display. We want clear heroes and villains. We want decisive victories and obvious narratives. But sometimes the most memorable moments are messy and complicated and divisive. Jade Cargill is your new champion, and whether you're celebrating or protesting, you're engaged. You're talking. You're caring. And that matters more than anything. This moment will be dissected and debated for years. Students of wrestling will analyze this match in the future when discussing controversial finishes and redemption arcs. Jade's career trajectory just became exponentially more interesting, and that makes every single one of us winners regardless of how we feel about the outcome.